I believe everybody can see business planning workshop recap with the slideshow. Give me your thumbs up if you see that, guys. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. We always like to start off our week before we get into what we're talking about with any wins. Does anybody have a win? I'll kind of start off. I have a new listing that just went live today. Pretty excited about in San Pedro Hills. I sold her the house back in 2020 and at a great price. And of course, she's making a killing now. She fully updated the house, and it's really good looking. I'll be posting about that later. So keep an eye out for that. So I'm excited about that. Man. Yeah, thank you. Any other wins? Alan, you got a win you want to share?
I've got 2 buyers under contract, and actually just had a friend reach out to get their property listed. Somebody nice. I've been following up for literally 6 years. So that was pretty cool to hear that today.
Cool, cool, cool. Anybody else with a win? I'm gonna start calling on people. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Again, we just like to start off with some positivity going on. And today we're going to go over SWOT, your own circle of life, your vision traction organizer, marketing ideas with a plan, and golden nuggets. Again, before we do this, today is a pretty interactive training. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Obviously, this is recorded, so you could go back and rewatch it if you're driving or whatever you're doing right now. But I highly recommend, and I have a lot of documents that I'm going to show you on here that I will, again, put into our group to where you can download and fill them out yourself. The SWOT, or whatever you call it, looks like this, and I filled it out yesterday. So I'd highly encourage you to take some notes. I think you'll get way more out of this that way. All right. But yesterday, I attended this business planning workshop. And honestly, when I saw the flyer here, I was like, oh my God, 4 hours of my time? Like, that seems intense. But I knew it was going to be great because it was hosted by Josh Sigmund's team over at Legacy Mutual Mortgage. And I met him and I've been kind of wowed by him since meeting him. This is Josh and his wife. I honestly don't know his wife's name. Shame on me. But Josh and I are what I guess we would call business partners. I was introduced to Josh back in February or so after talking to Shane Tokheim. And he was like, hey, you should bring in Josh to do some live trainings for what you're doing with your group. I said, great, sounds awesome. So we brought him in. He's a very strong personality, but he has a really, really great business. We won't go into all of that, but very, very, very successful. Does core coaching, and I think is one of the leaders of that. So a lot of great stuff, highly respected. So let's jump into it. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All right. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to set a little timer. I want to do we'll start off with a minute. And if we start running out of time, we're going to kind of just speed that up. But let's go ahead and jot down some of your strengths. And then I'll come back and kind of share some of my strengths. So you kind of have an idea of what, if you're matching or some different strengths that you have. So 1 minute, just start jotting down on a piece of paper. What are your strengths in your business? Ready, go. Should have music playing in the background. No rush, but we've got about 30 seconds left, and then we'll move on. So I would encourage you to maybe print out these after this and kind of take your time in doing this. Again, we had 4 hours that we kind of worked through all this stuff yesterday. So I'm trying to cram as much information and an hour or less. So hopefully you jotted down at least 3 to 5 strengths, and I'm sure you have way more than that. Does anybody want to share one of their strengths? Sierra, is there one thing that you wrote down?
The first one I wrote down is just consistent. I guess like with my open houses, I've been trying to do them every single weekend, trying to be really consistent at it, even though several weekends I've had no one show up. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to be consistent because I feel like that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I did that a lot of open houses very consistently in my first year as well. They will pay off. Learn, like how to pick them, why are people not showing up? But consistency is obviously great. If you could stick to something, that'd be awesome. So that's definitely a strength. Great job. Brandon, any strength that you want to share with us?
I put drive.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You want it and you're driven to do that. So good for you. Alan, you got a strength that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. Right now, it's just my database and being consistent with communicating with my database.
Cool. Some of mine, I'm not trying to show y'all up. I had way more time than 1 minute I just gave y'all. But I'm a people person. I'm very giving. I'm trustworthy. I'm caring. I have a good sphere. People tend to like me. I'm a good educator, a good leader, explainer. Those are the types of things. I'm not going to list all of them, but those are a few of the things that are my strengths. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and move over to the other category that we feel uncomfortable with, and write down your weaknesses. What are the things that you struggle with in your business? And this will all correlate to each other in a second. But let's go ahead and turn on another minute on the clock and jot down a few weaknesses of yours. All right, there's 1 minute. And to get this one started, I'll go ahead and start and be a little bit vulnerable. But one of the first ones I wrote down was not as consistent as I should be. My follow-up is not where it should be. I don't track my business as well as I should. I don't stick to my plan and execute fully. I'll be pretty good on Monday. Tuesday's pretty good, but by the time I get to Thursday, Friday, I'm like, I've kind of done enough. I feel like my systems should be stronger. I lack some organization. My schedule is way too flexible. When somebody says, "Hey, you want to go do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can move that around." And I lack lead generation consistently. I don't really treat it like a full-time job. But the funny thing is, as I'm saying that, in certain things I do. I'm pretty consistent with this Thursday Zoom, because obviously it's important to me, and I'm pretty consistent with other things. But imagine if I was that consistent with my business, I would be able to take it to the next level. So that's those are some of my weaknesses. Anybody want to share one of their weaknesses? How about Norma? Norma, are you with us? You have a weakness you don't mind sharing?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Do you have a weakness that maybe you jotted down that you don't mind sharing with the group?
My weakness?
Yeah, just any weakness.
Time management.
Time management. Yeah, that's a huge one. All right. And I think, as we as we talk through all this stuff, we realize, hey, we all kind of struggle with some of the similar things. I know everybody struggles with follow-up. If you don't, good for you. All right. But those are things that we struggle with. Anybody else like to share anything that you would like to work on? Maybe instead of calling it a weakness, something that you need to work on.
Structure.
Structure. Love it. Yeah,
A
for sure.
regiment. I met with Shane yesterday, and he reminded me that I have that Miracle Morning book, and was highly encouraging to read it. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's kind of how I got back on track, and I try to abide by that. But yeah, having structure there, and then structure in your business and other aspects of your life. So that's a good one. Let's go ahead and take another minute. Let's go ahead and do, we did it in this order. Threats. So a threat, if you look here, is external issues that have to be recognized, but you don't have control over. All right. I'll give you one of the threats. We don't really have control over the interest rates, and obviously that's affecting our business. All right. So can you come up with a few threats to your business, potential threats or actual threats that we have to at least acknowledge and recognize, but we don't really have control over? It's kind of the outside world. Go ahead and take. Yeah, competition's a good one. We'll talk about that in a second. Bring that up here. 1 minute, jot down any threats that you could come up with. All right. Alan, what is a threat that you thought of or wrote down?
Well, I think most people would say that like the market constraints are a threat. I mean,
Yeah.
I choose not to think that way, but if you think about like the clients, the people that we're working with, they're getting mixed messages, so they're hearing stuff from other people. So that could be a threat if you don't know how to, navigate those conversations.
Yeah, for sure. Another one is like personal health. I didn't think of that, but I wrote it down because somebody else mentioned it. Like if you're not taking care of your personal health and you get sick, I mean, obviously things happen, but like if you're just letting yourself go and you're not in a healthy way that you can work consistently, that's obviously going to affect your business. Inflation, right? People are freaking out about that, and going, man, I'm paying a lot more. I don't know if I could afford a higher payment. Anybody else have a threat that comes to mind? I try not to hog the mic. I can talk all day, every day. So I try to get other people involved.
Kind of circles back to what you mentioned, but I put client behavior.
Yeah.
They get outside information, like you said, and just trying to wrangle them back.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think we talked about that last week, was just like, we're the professional, we are in the inside. We need to redirect that message that everybody's getting slammed with. Our market is not exactly the same as the national market, and of course they just go, oh my God, the market's crashing. Everything is like, yeah, it's slowing down, but we need to communicate that clearly with them. I wrote down other things I wrote down were the government, I'm not getting political, but like the government could, with the stroke of a pen, change the way that we get paid, like tomorrow. So who knows? But that was brought up, so I jotted it down. Inflation, marketplace restrictions. Did y'all see that? I don't know if somebody else shared it. Facebook, I think coming in January, will not let you post on your business page as far as marketplace. I don't know all the specifics. We'll talk about that some other time. But pretty much marketplace, and I promote marketplace ads. I've done them pretty successfully. But you cannot do that on your business page anymore. I think you can still do it on your personal page. So that'll be an interesting shift. Home prices, personal finances, personal health is some of the things I jotted down. The last thing, and then we're going to move forward onto this, is we're going to take 1 minute of opportunities. So think about your strengths and think about your weaknesses, and what are some opportunities going into this next year that you can kind of accept and conquer, right? Things that you can take control of and move your business forward. What are the opportunities out there? Here's 1 minute. All right. Let's see. Deborah, do you have any opportunities that you would like to take control of coming up in this next year that you'd like to share?
On the opportunities, I'm not sure if this falls into that category, but I'm thinking, because it's one of my weaknesses, is doing video, going out
Exactly.
there and putting myself out there, because I'm very camera shy,
Yep.
unfortunately. So I need to work on that. That's definitely one of my weaknesses.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And that's exactly how we want to interpret that, is taking that weakness and going, okay, I have to work on this. There's an opportunity here to take this to the next level. So that's exactly right. Brandon, any opportunity that you want to share with us?
I did trainings.
Okay.
I want to learn as much about anything and everything that I can to grow.
Yeah, I like it. Alan, how about you?
Yeah, I think because of the market conditions and interest rates and things like that, there's certainly going to be more opportunity for the agents that are working hard. Tony, we've been talking about that a lot with a lot of the other leaders. There's going to be agents that they can't pay their MLS fees and they drop out of the business. Justin and I were talking about that today. So now is the time to really, like we always talk about, to hone in on those money-making activities and really be consistent with it, because we could take advantage of the opportunity where other agents might be, throwing in the towel. So everything we do in the fourth quarter is going to give us a huge first quarter, and it feels slow right now. It's going to be slower next year. So yeah. I see it as an opportunity to not just be stable and the same, but to be better when everybody's getting worse.
That's for sure the message that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But absolutely, I was just talking to Shane yesterday. I was checking in, going, "Hey man, how was your training?" And he goes, "Well, it was the best one because it was my third one of the week." And I was like, holy shit, you did 3? Because like it wasn't long ago that he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it, blah, blah. He's like, we gotta double down. You know, like Grant Cardone says, we gotta double down on our marketing, our action, our work, our true work. He's like, yeah, my first one, like
10x.
it was a bunch of agents that he like barely met, you know, and it's like, wow, it was just funny to kind of see that turn in the past 2 to 3 months, going from, hey, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it, to doing 3 a week. I was like, holy shit, that's a lot. So that's pretty cool. But that's the whole gist of it, right? My opportunities are truly taking care of my sphere and making sure that I'm present with them, upping my social media content. I think I have the tools, the podcasts, all these things that can really help me. I just have to make the time to create it, you know, and make it happen. Sticking to a schedule, tracking everything, getting organized for real, tracking my money making activities by doing my greatness tracker, and having just 10 to 13 great conversations daily, you know, with just people. And then one of my biggest weaknesses, I talked to host Sway about this yesterday. He's great at it, is asking for the business. You know what, if he's having a conversation with anybody in his sphere, pretty much always asks, you know, hey, who do you know that I need to know? And you know, trying to look for that referral without being pushy. So hopefully y'all have some great things to jot down there. um you know what, the funny thing is, I have all these and I didn't even show these. I should have showed this. This is this is the form that I'll be putting up. But this is where we wrote down very similar to what I had. So we'll cross that one off real quick. Um, because of time, I'm going to go ahead and just share this, and we're not going to take time to kind of write this out. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that you download the documents later, all right, and work through this. So, Circle of Life was really, really interesting for me, and I'll show you the first one. It's where are you now in each one of these categories. So, I'm going to be vulnerable real quick and just kind of write down, tell you what I wrote down to give you some idea. If you want to kind of jot things down as they come easily to you, some of these things I had to think about. But in my work, where am I now? Kind of what is your biggest struggle? So you see at the top, what is your biggest struggle in each area? So for work, I put down consistency and motivation as number one. My number 2 was follow up and follow through. And I gave it a rating between 1 to 10. I gave it a rating of 6 to 7. I couldn't narrow it down. I was like, yeah. So I put a 6 to 7 over here. For money, I put budgeting and investing. You know, so I've done pretty decent with getting the money and holding on to the money, but trying to take it to the next level, going, okay, I should really be putting some money in different areas and trying to grow my money rather than just collect it and hold on to it. Second is marketing budget. I've never really established this. I do kind of spend some money on like birthday campaigns and stuff like that. But what the heck is my marketing budget look like? If I'm 4 years into this business, I should have a more serious business mindset when it comes to that. I rated that a 6. In my love life, treating my wife better. All right. I put number 1, and being more thoughtful. I have a tendency of just focusing on work, 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 and then dinner and just kind of going through the motions, but really making time to focus on our relationship and growing that. I rated that a 5 out of 10. Family, again, you can see some of my biggest weaknesses are being thoughtful. So number 1 right here is being more thoughtful of my girls. So my daughter lives with her mom, and I only see her every other week or so. I have a really good relationship with her, but it should be way better, and communicating with her on a weekly basis, rather than just kind of when I see her or so on and so forth. Having a deeper relationship with my family members. I know my mom and dad and my brother and sister love me, but we don't have a great deep relationship. It's very surface level, even though we love each other deeply. So that's something that I like to work on. I rated that as a 5. Spirituality, being consistent with my spirituality and making time to build a relationship with God. And I recently gave my life to Jesus, and I plan on getting baptized in a couple of weeks here. So I've definitely taken steps in that. But I don't really think about it much except for when it comes to Sunday morning, and we go to church. So I put myself down as a 6. Friends, I put out of sight, out of mind. And I don't mean to be ugly about that. I love my friends and have a really good relationship when we're together. I just talked to my good friend Gabe Becerra for a good 30, 45 minutes this morning. And it's great. But sometimes if they're not in front of me and present or whatever, I don't really think of them. And I don't have deep relationships. A few close friends I do, but I wish that those relationships were a little bit deeper, and I had deeper relationships with more friends of mine. So again, you can see I'm kind of middle of the road. I rated it as a 6. And the last one, myself, I hate confrontation of any sorts. So that's something that I need to work on. And I lack motivation consistently. I get pretty complacent. I have a pretty decent business and fairly comfortable. So I need to work on my motivation to get it to the next level. I rated it as a number 5. Any questions regarding this or how you would fill this out? Cool. Again, you can obviously see how that would take quite a bit of time if we took a minute on each of these to fill this out. And of course, I'm trying to respect your time and get as much information to you as possible in this hour. So I highly recommend that you fill that out. Okay. The next one, once you fill that out, you actually chart it on here. So, like for instance, on work, actually money right here, I gave myself a 6. So from the center, you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. I put a little dot right here. And then you do the same for each spoke, whatever you rated it. All right. And then you kind of draw a circle or whatever shape it may be. You connect the dots around. All right. And something might be way low here on money, but you're a really hard worker, which wouldn't necessarily result in the same thing. That's a bad example. But maybe your spirituality is really low, but your money's good and your work is hard. All right. And how do we balance that out? So I'll go ahead and show you mine, and I'm sure you can kind of see that. It's pretty circular. All right. It's pretty even, but it's, to me, what did this tell me? It's pretty mediocre. And I'm not trying to beat myself up. Again, I don't lack confidence in what I'm doing, but I'm going, everything is pretty good, but do I just want to be pretty good, or do I want to be like great at everything? So my biggest aha at the very bottom, your biggest aha, I wrote down pretty balanced, but not an abundant life. And my number one thing is I need to grow my circle. So really, I mean, if I took all of those up at least 1 to 2 notches, now my circle is bigger, and my life is more abundant, and my life is more complete. So I would highly recommend that y'all jot that down on your own. Let me make sure. That one, okay. So it's just a great exercise. And in fact, they recommend their team at Sigmund Legacy Mutual does this as a team 2 times a year. So kind of just check in, like, hey, where am I at now? Okay, let's check back in 6 months. Where am I at now? And just be real honest with yourself and just kind of a check in on that. And then right after that is, where will you be? So this is kind of going, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I struggle with. What am I going to do to fix that? So I'll run down this real quick on where do I plan on being. All right. And on my work one, I wrote down, fill out my greatness tracker. ask for business, commit to systems for follow-up and follow-through. All right. On money, I wrote down set budget and execute, commit to marketing budget for business. Love life, I wrote down weekly date nights and make plans for us in the future. For family, I wrote communicate with girls 2 to 3 times a week. So when you're writing these down, you want to try to, and I did it sort of kind of, but you want to try to be able to track them, right? Be accurate with like, I'm going to do this once a week. I'm going to do this 2 to 3 times a week, whatever it is. So as you're writing things down like that, that would be great to track. Also in family, talk to my mom once a week and check in with siblings every other week. And then spirituality, I just put one thing, commit time to pray throughout the day. And for friends, I said check in bi-weekly, and monthly dinner / drinks. I also put off to the side, who are my friends? Obviously I can't do that with 50 people, but like, who are my inner circle? Who are my ride or die friends that like I really, there you go, right? that like we want to have a deep connection with and be super close to and grow those relationships. And then for self, I put voice my feelings, not be afraid of confrontation, and commit to my daily routine / schedule. At the bottom, your most important goal to focus on is improve each section by 1 level. If I can take it up at least to a 6 or a 7 on all of those, then I'm growing, right? And who is it? Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So we're, in all of our areas, how can we grow to new heights? So any questions about any of that? I know I went through that pretty quickly, but again, I'm trying to respect your time and get as much information out as possible. Any questions? Cool. Moving right along, vision and traction organizer. This is what it looks like. Again, I'll upload these. It is a 2-pager, but I did not do this portion. Let me get this out of the way. I would recommend that you start with this portion. Okay. And we'll talk about this real quick. On here, it says start with your issues. So when you're filling this out, you should start on the right side. So really kind of going back to your weaknesses, going back to your opportunities list that we have created, you would write down all of the issues that you're having. And then you would make your way over to what do I want to do next year? It was funny at the very beginning of the meeting yesterday, Josh asked everybody to stand up if they're having their best year yet. And I was like, I have no clue. Like, I don't really track my business. I just track what am I doing daily, weekly, monthly. I think I'm doing okay. I got money in the bank, so I guess I'm not doing too bad. But usually in December, I go back and go, oh shit, look at that. I did this, so like last year I did 6.3 million and I didn't find that out until December when I just came up with numbers. Pretty decent, pretty okay. But I'd like to get to that 10 million mark. I probably didn't. If I was to take a guess of where I'm at, I'm probably going to end up short. So I definitely want to like up my game, get at least to a $10 million in sales, if not more. So I would go, okay, I want to sell $10 million worth. So what I ended up doing is I'll go over this real quick. And then you get to the middle and the rocks, which I'll talk about in a second. But my issues list was inconsistency, lack of systems. I don't execute fully. My client experience for my sphere is so-so. My social media presence is okay, but I have the capability of being better. I need to track everything, and I need to ask for business. I need to not be afraid of doing that. And I need to commit to a true work schedule and treat it like a full-time job. So that's my issues. I had 8 that I jotted down there. On the left-hand side, a minimum of $10 million in sales. I would love to push it and go as high as 20 million. you also want to make sure that the goal you set is realistic. You can't like go in and go, hey, I sold 3 million last year and next year I'm going to sell 50. It's like, yeah, probably not. All right. Let's get you to the 10 million first. So, and then my goals for the year to accomplish that is no 0 months. All right. So I don't know about you. I don't know how long you've been in the business, but last year I had my best year yet, but I had 0 in January, 0 in February, and I think 0 in November, December. And it's kind of embarrassing to admit that. So I did all of my 6.3 million in sales. Pretty good year, pretty good income, but it was all between March to October. All right. So it would be awesome if I didn't if I had 0 months to where I had at least a deal every single month. All right. And that really starts now. If I want to do that for January through next year, I gotta get on it right now. The rocks kind of go back to the issues list. All right. So like you've picked like 3 to 4 things that like these are the things that I have to do. All right. Number one is to commit to a work schedule. If I truly commit to what that work schedule looks like, a lot of the other things will fall into place. Have my sphere complete, my database really thorough. Number 3 is client event by the end of the year. And 4 is ask for business. So as I talk to people between now and the end of the year, I'm going to make a point to actually ask for the business of who do you know that I need to know. And then on the right side, it says, who's going to do this? Well, most of us are single agents and most of this all falls on us. So of course, on the first 3 out of the 4, I wrote me. All right. And then the client event, I'm not a great planner. My wife is, and she can come up with the flyer and all that stuff on Canva. So I kind of put that on her plate and say, hey, I really need you to help organize this, plan it, and book it and do all that. So she's going to take care of that. All right. But the other 3 things kind of fall on me. So that's how that is filled out. And I love this. We turned around on the back. Let's see. Think about 5 years from now. All right. To create your 1-year plan. All right. And then lastly, we just talked about that and walked you through that. Your number 1 job is to lead generate. All right. Number 1 job is not to, attend other stuff and events, but we got to lead generate, and hopefully you take care of that in the morning because in the afternoon things come up. Do you have a vivid vision of your 1 year, your 3 year, and your 5 years out? I don't, not yet. Sometimes I think too small. All right. Do you believe in your plan? Are you excited about it? And who are you going to share it with? All right. As I was doing this and filling this stuff out, I was taking pictures and sending it to my wife. And I said, hey, we need to have a conversation about all these things, at some point. But I think that's really good. And he says to review your plan every single month. And these are the 5 things you should ask yourself. 5 questions you should ask yourself is what is working, and do more of those things. What is not working? All right. And why? All right. Does it just need to have more time doing that? Like farming takes a long time. Do you want to keep committed to that? What do I need to add? All right. What do I need to subtract? What is the behavior that needs to go? And what do I need to learn? So of course we answered those things. And my answers real quick are, I have pretty good conversations and I convert pretty well. So pretty much as soon as somebody says, hey, I want to buy, or hey, I want to sell, very rarely do I lose out on that. Like I pretty much close it just because for the most part, they like me. Number 2, what isn't working? My schedule or lack thereof. I'm not super committed to that. Number 3, what do I need to add? Probably go back to doing more open houses like I did at the beginning of my career. And look for possibility of other sources. But I think I know that if I did open houses consistently now with what I know, I'd probably do a lot better. I've done pretty well with it, but I know how to do it pretty well. What do I need to subtract? Get rid of my flexibility of schedule. My schedule is just way too loose and I don't really treat it like a full-time gig. What do I need to learn? Money management and investing. So that's something that, it gives me an idea. This was a really cool homework assignment that he gave us. I haven't done it yet. But think about this. I want you to write a letter to yourself from the perspective of a client of yours 5 years from now. What is their experience like? So 5 years from now, you just sold them their dream home. They're thrilled. They've loved every minute of it. Your communication, your follow through, your gift, your whatever, write all that out in the perfect letter to yourself. And that is your goal. And you back it up from there. All right. That was pretty cool. We're going to get into this. I'm going to take a quick breath. Anybody have any questions? Okay, we got like 12 minutes to get through like 10 slides. So we're going to do this. We're going to push forward. Marketing side of things, self and business preservation right now. All right. We have to control the narrative. Marketing and sales are separate and should be treated as so. All right. Bren Rouse is the head marketing for Sigmund team. She did this whole presentation. It's really, really, really good. What is marketing? I had that question for the longest freaking time. Like, what I have to market? What does that mean? What do I do? I don't have money to do that. All those types of things. But this is marketing. Brand awareness, right? Attracting new business. Client experience, in my opinion, falls under marketing. All right. How do you take care of them from you met them, you closed them, you followed up with them, you've created a relationship with them, and that is part of marketing. Obviously, social media with videos, pictures, YouTube, podcasts, you name it. Emails is marketing. Mailers, old school, snail mails, marketing. Events or parties that you host, gifts. And obviously, if you have the budget to do all these things, great. But I do a weekly email and it costs me $0. All right. But I know that I'm working with a buyer right now that's moving from Washington, D.C. And she gets my weekly email. She's like, hey, Tony, I'm buying a house at the end of the year. Awesome. I never called her. I never followed up. She just started getting my email. So for $0, I kept in contact with that person through just simple email. MailChimp is what I use, by the way. That's another topic. Bottom line, again, your business and your marketing all start with your database. And if you don't have a database, you can't really do much. Like, who are you going to send emails to? Who are you going to send mailers to? Who are you going to social media follow and stalk and send messages to? All right. But simple name, phone number, phone, email, address, and forward. All right. But just the basic contact information is minimum. The best database is a spreadsheet, which should be your master copy. And this is something that I plan on doing. Is obviously I have a lot of contacts in my KV core, but you should be able to export that, which I have, to a spreadsheet and print it out. So that way, when you meet Brandon Taylor at a Starbucks and you go, let me jot that person down and follow up with him. All right. Or you meet Sierra, and you bumped into her at the gym and she says, hey, I want to buy a house. Great. Write that person's name down. And now you're adding them to your database every single week. So the goal would be to write down 1 to 5 people a week that you're adding to your database. Start small and grow your database. It doesn't matter, if you're starting with 20. I remember Alan telling me, he's like, hey, even if you only have 20 people entered in your email, start emailing those people. And the following week you added 20 more. Now it's up to 40. So whatever your number is, don't be ashamed of that number. Everybody starts somewhere. Get that database going and go with it. I love what Bryn said. Do they pass the HEB test? And I think we've all been there before, but you see somebody in HEB, if they know you and you know them and you're not walking away from each other to avoid each other, they should probably be in your database. If you're walking up to them and saying, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 whatever, then they pass the HEB test. Now, if you see them at HEB and you're going, oh God, I don't want to talk to them, let me go this way, then they probably don't need to be on your database. All right. Then classify them. All right. Are they family? Are they friends? Are they business partners? Have they bought and sold with you multiple times and they're VIPs and they get extra treatments and get awesome gifts for their birthdays and stuff like that because you've made a shitload of money off of them because they refer you. All right. Those are the people that we got to take care of. Start planning. I'll show you this here in a second. Did I miss something? Let me just check. We addressed that. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Yearly, monthly, and weekly. And this is why we've had some decent success this year with the Productive Agent, a Facebook group, is because I went in and last December and I put in every single date for our happy hour, every single date for our coffee and conversation. And I put all that in for the year. And it's like, boom, it's scheduled. Now we just got to plan it and we know when it's going to happen. Are you doing any events or parties? All right, put those in the calendar. Are you doing gifts? Got it. What kind of gifts are you doing? Are for closings, birthdays, special occasions, holidays, etc. Put it on the calendar and do the date, the time, the location, the theme, and the projected cost. All right, get real detailed, take your time, make the invitations now in Canva or whatever you use. And they do all of this planning for all of their events in October for the following year. So as the business has slowed down right now, we should be looking ahead to 2023, all right, and going, okay, I am going to host 2 events next year, 2 big client appreciation events, and they're going to be on this date and this time, and we're going to have it at Big's Burgers because they have a great outdoor space for the kids to run around, and this is the theme, and it's probably going to cost about this much. You know, whatever it is, put that down, put it on the calendar, and make the invitations. Obviously, you're not sending them out right now, but you want to make sure that you are on top of that and plan it out in the future. Let me see real quick. Yeah. Social media content obviously is a huge one. You know, I know some people there's a lot of people that I get tired of doing social media. I get burned out with it too. But it's kind of a must. 1 week out is best. They like to plan their content. I don't do this yet. So this is for me stepping up my social media game. These are the things I need to consider. Batching my content. That would probably be a lot better than me like, oh, what am I going to post right now? And then post it. All right. So think about doing that. Research topics and material. This is all, this probably seems overwhelming as I'm running through this. I'll show you the weekly calendar and how it's not as overwhelming as you think it is. Copy or recreate. Copying is faster. All right. So there are a bunch of great realtors that I follow that aren't even local that I go, I love their content and I just want to rip it off and do that. Obviously, I'm going to make it my own, you know, the way I present it, the way whatever my graphics are, but just copy it. Everybody's copying each other. Don't be ashamed of that. Find the material, find the content, and just put it out there. Plan your emails and mailers and how often you're going to do that. They do a mailer once a month, and they alternate between an evidence of success 1 month and a letter of the heart the next month. Overall evidence of success is like, hey, we were able to help this person buy or sell, blah, blah, blah. They're so happy. And this person and this person. The next one is letter of the heart is like, you know, everybody's going back to school this month. You know, I remember when I taught, it was such a cool time. The fall was in the air, football was getting started, that kind of heartwarming letter so that you're hitting on each one. I think JJ's mentioned that in his last live training. You're pulling on each one's heart. Some people like the evidence of success and like you're kicking ass. And some people like, oh, this person is so kind. So you balance that out. Put it on the calendar. When is it going out? Where is it going out? And then repurpose the content. So like I do a podcast every week and I record it on video, but I take that podcast and I put it on YouTube I am working through the videos and editing them to get it onto TikTok for the shorts, Instagram for the reels, Facebook, put it in my email and possibly mailers. But you could take that one content, you do a YouTube video, and you could splice it up and have all kinds of content on that one take. All right. So sounds like a lot. How do we do all of this? It's way too much stuff. All right. Weekly marketing task. So that's my cue to show you this. Let me run down that real quick. This is literally what Bryn does for her head marketing of Legacy Mutual. On Mondays, she writes thank you notes for the week. Like who did they meet last week? Who applied for a loan last week? They write thank you notes then. They also add people to your database, right? So anybody that you wrote down on that spreadsheet, you go, I need to make sure that they're in my database, they're in my mailer, they're in all my marketing materials, they are in it. So that's really the two most important things. So if nothing else gets done today, these things have to get done on that day. All right. On Tuesdays, she does content prep, social. So on Tuesdays, she is prepping the following week for the social media post and figuring out, okay, we're going to put this out on Monday, put this out on Tuesday, and gathering that information. She's also checking the performance of the things that they're putting out and seeing what's working, what's not. On Wednesdays, prepare weekly email for the following week and deliver gifts is what she wrote down here. On Thursdays, she prepares the newsletter and prepares buyer or seller packets. So that's kind of geared towards agents, but like making sure that your systems are in place. On Friday, she orders gifts and dedicates time for strategy and research. She jokingly said that, we're the realtors that are running 1 hour before closing going, oh, what the hell am I going to buy this person for their gift and throw it together? She's like, don't do that. A closing's coming up next week, go buy it on Friday, whatever it is. And then, if you dedicate 30 minutes to an hour on each one of these, I love that Friday of like, hey, just take time to scroll through social media in a research way, right? And going like, wow, this realtor posted this and I really like it. So sometimes as I'm doing that, I'll take screenshots of things, I'll save the video and go back to it and go, yep, I really like that. I want to repurpose that. All right. So when you start breaking it down that way, it's not that bad. And my mindset goes to, okay, if I was going to do this all by myself and cover everything, then I have to make my phone calls in the morning. All right, let's just say 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. If I really committed to making phone calls from 10 to 12, I should be able to at least knock out 10 good phone calls, right? Minimum, if not more, right? And check in with everybody that needs their stuff. And then in the afternoon after lunch, then I can work on the marketing side of things as how I kind of game plan for that. Let's see where we're at here. Last two. One more thing I want to show you. This is a quick look at my Google Calendar, but you can see that the listing goes live. But on here next Tuesday is the espresso. All right, so that's coming up. Our coffee and conversations. Our social event is here, and again, that social event was planned back in last December. I put it there. So somewhere in here, there it is, social event, because this is Thanksgiving, so I had to work around that. So on the 18th of November, we're doing our social event. And on the 8th of November, we're doing our espresso. Same thing. Here it is, social event on the 16th of December. And it shocked me when I first did this in December, how quick it was. It's just like, oh, wow. Like that didn't take much time at all. I just went through the calendar and went boom, boom, boom. It goes on this Friday, that Friday, and it's booked. And then as it approaches, then I make plans, where are we going, get the flyer out, etc. But it just takes a little bit of planning. I want to leave you with these couple thoughts real quick. We have to do more to not go backwards next year. right? I think Alan even mentioned it. Like, you think it's slow right now, it's probably going to get slower, honestly. All right. So if we're not doing more action, more phone calls, more things, more content creation, more social media, then it's possible that we slide backwards next year. Set goals and make painful consequences to follow through. He mentioned that when you set a goal, it doesn't really get accomplished. But when you set a goal and say, when I do this, I'm going to take my kids to Disney World, it happens like 50% of the time. But when you say, if I don't do this, then I'm going to have to pay thousands of dollars to a charity that I don't like and don't support. All right. And he used it, and this kind of got a roar out of the crowd, because imagine if you had to write a big fat check to the opposite political party that you belong to, and a donation. He goes, you would not want to do that so strongly that you would want to make sure that you do your work. So like, think about what kind of painful consequence, without making you go poor. All right. But like, hey, I owe you $100 or whatever it is if I don't get this done. If I don't fill out my greatness tracker this week, I owe you this. And think about who you want to do that with. Track everything. Just do what we know how to do, and do it consistently. Is really what it boils down to. We don't have a knowledge problem. It's not a knowledge problem we have. It's an execution problem, right? We know what to do, but we don't always do it. Plan the work and work the plan. Pretty simple. All right. So put in the time, take an afternoon. My wife and I were talking about it. We had one little meeting, and it went pretty well, but it's like, man, we have to like sit down for an entire day and really map out really what we want to do, going into next year. Like, spend an hour on just doing this and just doing that. Take a brunch, come back, and we're going to focus on this next topic and this next topic, and really map out what we want going into next year. Yeah, so hopefully you got a lot of information there. Try to squeeze it in. Sorry, I went 5 minutes over. Do we have any questions? It is recorded. We'll be putting this up on the group. You can go back and replay, and take a look at that. The documents, I will also put that in the group under files. So you should be able to download those on your computer and print those out and work through those on your own. But that's all I got.